Welcome to Two Minds Today with your host, Charlene, authority in leadership development, and Hale, an expert community builder. The pod all about best practices to get you noticed and ahead in your professional life.
Welcome, Hala. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Charlene?
I'm good. Okay,
How's
so
your
I'm.
week been?
Oh gosh, it's like there was a video by the Holderness family that talked about like Maycember. I feel like it's like June-cember
Oh
for
my
us.
gosh, yes, I love that. Love that video. And for sure, that's the hardest time of year. And then also on the front end, I think coming
Yes.
from August to September. I'm waiting for that video. Yeah,
Yes. It's yeah, so we're in a kids camp and going all the places. Your kids also going all of the places. And
100%. Totally
here
agree.
we are. I'm gonna name at the top of this that I feel really apprehensive about our subject today. So why don't you introduce it?
Sure. Okay. So the subject today is the gender paradox, unboxing workforce equality. What does that even mean? We're talking men and women. So we thought about, this topic because it's oftentimes we talk in the workforce that it's more difficult for women. Issues between men and women are different in the workforce. And so I brought it up to Charlene to talk about it because I had been speaking to a friend of mine about these issues and women and confidence, which is something we'll touch in our next episode. And Charlene said, I do not want to touch this issue. I'm just tired of the topic. And so my question is, why? What's what's the deal?
Okay,
What
so I'm
rubs you the
gonna
wrong way?
what's the wrong way? Okay, one. Absolutely. I will say, I believe that there is a difference in the workforce of everything, of who we are and where we come with, whether it's our gender, our religion, our race, our ethnicity. And yeah, I strongly believe that each person that is entering into the workforce and coming with an identity, whatever your identity is outside, I'm going to name outside, probably a straight white man, you're bringing that to the workforce with you. And there's so much work around DEI, and I am not a diversity, equity, inclusion expert by any means at all. So one, I maybe feel like I'm not fully um, educated to talk on this topic. And on the other hand, like I've lived as a female woman in the workplace, and there are absolutely things that are different. And so I feel like it's almost like, I don't know, yeah, it's exhausting. Yes. I really feel the name of this podcast is multiple things can be true at the same time. And by having it and claiming this podcast, it's like naming and claiming, it's the challenge of like, yeah, there are things that are different. There's things that you have to do and be and see and think differently. And then on top of that, um, it's still true. Like we still have to go on and be productive.
So it's interesting what you said. I'm going to go back to what you said about, diversity. And everybody comes to the workforce with their own perspectives and background. I completely agree with you. And then you excluded, unless you're a straight white male. I actually think that they also come to it with
Sure.
a
Yeah.
background.
I'm happy to back
Sure.
out of unless you are, because of course, especially in 2023, straight white men also we're yeah.
I think we're all sort of, I don't want to use the word like under attack, but like we're all in the, because that's a negative way of looking at it. I think we're all living in this moment in time where we realize that we need to honor and respect the differences that each of us bring to the table. And we've often talked about personality differences and perception.
Mhm.
And I just think that this is another layer of it. And, like I think you like to say, it is what it is, right? Like, so what's there to talk about? Like we've heard it a million times. It is what it is. But I think that there's value in it because a lot of times we walk through life and we're not really aware of ourselves and our space and how we're managing through. And if you are a woman, you might be doing things like blaming yourself when you shouldn't be blaming yourself. Or by the way, you might be making an excuse when you shouldn't be making an excuse because you're saying, hey, I'm a woman and you're doing this, but maybe it has nothing to do with the fact that you're a woman. But this topic, I think, is something that everyone needs to be aware of. If we're to be respectful of each other, we need to understand our own identity in order to respect each other's identity, if that makes
All right.
sense to
So
you.
it does. So I'm going to
Okay.
say one for today is the challenge of naming. even when Hala, you brought up the topic, the challenge was already there. I'm like, oh, am I going to say the wrong thing? Am I do the wrong thing? And then two, I think the second half that you just brought up is there is inherent value in naming it, in saying that there's difference, and those, a lot of things that are the right thing to do are difficult to do.
That's true. And I am one of those people that thinks that just naming it is really important because it brings awareness to each other. And
Yeah.
we live in this very interesting time when we're simultaneously saying everyone is completely different and oh, we're all totally the same. And I just like have trouble with that dichotomy. And I think when we name it, we put ourselves in the position of being sensitive to our own reaction to things and other people's reactions. So in a workforce setting, then we become sensitive to, oh, when I walk in as a woman, I may behave a certain way. And oh, if I'm walking in as a man, I might behave a certain way. So let me bring in a little bit more sensitivity.
Yeah.
Or do you think that's an excuse?
I don't know.
When
would
you're at work,
love.
just do great work and that's it.
Yeah,
That's all that matters.
I look, would I love to get to a society that is all that matters? Absolutely, right? That's where we're all judged based on the value of our work. Yeah, I think it's we talked a little bit about different generations, right? People have different expectations and feelings, and when they look at you, we still are at a place where we're making snap judgments. We're determining, which I think we'll get into another few weeks of like what's confidence versus aggression, and how you're presenting yourself. There's I firmly believe, and here's what I'll say, is perception versus reality, right? And it's this idea, right, that your perception of me is reality. I could think I'm coming in and coming across as anything, but the truth is, it doesn't matter what I think. The matter is how you perceive me, how our listeners perceive us, could be absolutely nothing to do with how we think that we are portraying ourselves. But that doesn't matter because that's the reality they live in, and that's their reality, and their reality is their truth. And I think that's what
And
I circle around.
well, okay, so you said that you wish we lived in this world where our work product would be all that needed to be spoken for us. And I think that the reason we can't live in that world is because of what you just said, is that we all have different perceptions, right? And when and because of that, there's no real objective, excellent work product, so to speak. Because the
Yeah.
excellence
It's
of
like,
that
do you
work.
want it done well or done it the way I told you to do it?
No, not that, not
Okay.
that.
Okay.
No. I'm not saying that. I like how you're trying to undercut what I'm trying to
No, go
say.
for it. Say it.
Okay. I think it's like I might do excellent work, but if your perception of it is different, that work is no longer excellent. If you can't
Mm.
take it from how I presented it to you, it's not excellent. If I can't communicate it in a certain way, it's not excellent. If you're not comfortable with me enough so that we can dialogue and move to the next level of the work, it's not excellent. So
Okay.
there is no objective, excellent work product. It's not as if like when we're dealing with other human beings, it's not as if you just did your math worksheet and you got all of it. It's 100%. And here's my math worksheet and I'm done. Because when we're in a work environment with other people, even if you got 100 on that worksheet, there's a lot left to do with it. And that's where the relationships come in. And that's where all this subjectivity comes in. And this is where our cultural differences and our backgrounds and the fact that I'm a man and you're a woman comes in.
We hope you found our discussion informative and thought-provoking. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast.
It's so funny. Like that accidentally went off, but I have to say, I think it was a perfect time because we're only going to go into this for just another minute. So it was a
Yes.
good way to remind us of where we are. So I don't know what you think about this last comment that I made, Charlie. Do you think that I made a point to you? It might be worth it that men and women have some differences and we need to explore that, which is hopefully what we'll do.
Yeah. I look, I think this is challenging, right? This is for many reasons. I feel like this is a really uncomfortable topic, but I think, summing us up, like, one, it's absolutely a challenge, and two, I definitely resonated with what you said. I fully believe that there's um motivation and reason and need and value behind naming it. I'm big on naming and claiming who you are in many, many settings. I think that if we can name and claim it, it makes our lives a lot easier to enter in and to work with other people that may be different than us. And then for sure, it's all underscored with perception is reality, is how other people perceive us is how we move about in the world. And I think we are going to keep for the next couple episodes on this topic and really diving in and having those what I perceive as hard conversations.
Let's do it. I'm super excited about it, Charlene. And hey, everybody out there, remember to learn a little more every day.
All right. Thanks.
If you found our discussion informative and thought-provoking, be sure to subscribe to our podcast to stay up to date on the latest insights in the industry. And remember to share this episode with colleagues and friends who will find it helpful. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, folks.